As a homeschool mom, when should you use family-style learning versus individualized classes and instruction? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I am Rachel. I am a second-generation homeschooler who loves making nerdy homeschool videos here on YouTube. I am so glad you're here. If you are new to this channel, please be sure to subscribe so you can listen to all the nerdy homeschool content. But in this video, I am answering a viewer question, which is talking about how to make that decision of should I go for family style learning or should I separate my kids into their own distinct levels. Now, if you spend much time listening to homeschool advice, you are very frequently going to hear that family style learning, family style education is going to be a lifesaver and a sanity savior for the homeschool mom. With family style learning, you might have children in 4th grade, 2nd grade, and 1st grade, but you will be reading to them all from the same history book, or they will all be doing the same science topic and doing the same science experiments together. Family style learning is most commonly implemented in subject areas such as history, science, Bible, literature, as well as the riches subjects such as art study, composer, and similar sorts of topics. Now, family style learning can carry some major benefits, but it's not always the lifesaver and the sanity saver that it might be heralded to be. I want to talk about some pros and cons and give you a little bit of guidance if you are considering whether family style learning is going to be right for your family in this season. So here are the pros of family style learning. Number 1 is simplifying. If you have 3 or 4 or 7 children, family style learning can mean that in a single subject area, you're not worrying about many different grade levels or many different topics. You are just saying, as a family, we are going to be studying this topic and we're all going to be learning about it together, and different kids at different ages might be mastering the material in different ways, but you're not necessarily going to worry about that because a 1st grader is going to engage differently than a 4th grader. That is natural, that's developmentally appropriate, but you're simplifying something for yourself by just combining everyone into one subject. The second pro of family style learning is that it is skill building. Learning how to live well with others is a crucial life skill that we want our children to develop. Family style lessons are an effective tool for teaching this skill because in a family style lesson, we might be having discussions and lively discussions with siblings who disagree with us. Older siblings are maybe going to have to learn to be much more patient with younger siblings who need more time to grasp the information. In addition, the rest of the group of siblings might realize that one sibling who is coming to the school lesson with a really bad attitude can really spoil the mood of the whole group and kind of spoil the tone of the day. There are very many non-academic lessons learned through this communal learning, this family style learning. A third benefit is memory making. Family style learning is very powerful for building the communal family history and the communal memories of being a family. Remember when we read that book? Remember when we made those mummies? Remember when we dropped the eggs off the balcony? So communal memories are made through this experience of doing school together, doing lessons together, and those can be very powerful. Then we also have the cons of family style learning. So depending on the age gaps and also on the natural wiring of the students in your particular homeschool, family style learning can start to feel like it is holding back your older students or your neurologically gifted students to the pace of younger siblings or siblings who just naturally have a more leisurely pace of learning. And this can create some tension and some frustration. Now, there is some need for those older and those gifted learners to practice patience with those whose brains don't work the way theirs do, or with younger siblings. There is some need for that. However, it can get to the point where if you're trying to do too much family style, it can just end up being too much frustration or too much of holding the older siblings back. So while it is valuable for your older students to learn to live with small frustrations, to learn to live with their younger siblings and younger learners who need more time, it can get to the point where if you're doing too much of this, too much in the name of family style learning will make everything easier, but it's not actually making everything easier and it's causing too much frustration, it might actually be better to separate up your students, allow them to freely progress at their own pace and learn content that is appropriate to their own level versus trying to force family style learning. The second con is that family style learning, really, it may not always be easier. I feel like this is a misconception because so many people will say, oh, just do family style learning, it'll make everything easier. And I don't think that that is always true because let's just think realistically. Say you have 7 kids. Odds are, it doesn't mean that family style learning will take you from teaching 7 science lessons in 7 different courses to 7 different grade levels, and now you're only teaching 1 lesson. That's not really what it means, because odds are if you have 7 kids, you'll have some that are in middle or high school who are able to work very independently and maybe only need you for occasional check-ins. You're not really teaching full science lessons to them anyways. And you'll probably have some in preschool type age range who don't really need to learn science anyways. So you really only had to teach the science to your maybe early elementary students anyways. And trying to combine 7 big personalities into 1 science lesson will actually end up making it take longer, maybe it'd be a little bit more complicated, versus if you had just kept things a little bit more simple and allowed different people, different kids within your family to progress at their own natural level and work with more independent schoolwork. I'm just saying it's not always going to be inherently easier to do family style. So when you do have a family, especially with a broader age span, it actually might be easier to allow your older students to progress and do more independent style learning or learning that involves video instruction and that sort of thing, and just focus your attention more on the early elementary years where they can't yet read independently and they do need more of that one-to-one instruction. That's in a more typical large family age gap type scenario. So how and where are you going to make this decision for your family? Wouldn't it be nice if there was one hard and fast rule, like if your children are within this age range, you should do family style learning. And if they're outside this age range, you should not. It would be nice, but that's just not realistic when we're working with humans and we're working with education. Here are the 4 main factors that I would consider if you are trying to make this decision for your family. Number 1, look at age gaps. Number 2, look at ability gaps, because those 2 things are not always the same thing. Number 3, look at yourself and your style as a teacher, what you thrive with. Do you thrive more with the classroom style teaching, multiple things going on at the same time, or do you thrive more with one-to-one instruction? And number 4, the personalities of your students. Let's be realistic, some siblings clash more than others, and some get along like 2 peas in a pod. Sometimes combining certain personalities is not always the best when you're really seeking actual education. So those are the main factors I would consider if you are trying to make this decision for yourself. In the comments, please feel free to share some of the factors that have led you to choose either family style learning for certain subjects or individual learning for certain subjects. And I'm going to share a real life example from my own life right now. I have 2 sons who are about 1.5 years apart. So on paper, it would look like it would be very easy to just combine them, or it would be very easy to just hold back the oldest one a little bit until his younger brother can kind of catch up and be ready to tackle certain subjects, and just tackle subjects with both of them together all the time because they are so close in age. However, in reality, I don't really do that. Now, my sons are best friends. They are pretty inseparable. They're always together. However, especially at their current ages, their current developmental stages, you can see a pretty wide gap between what the older one is ready for academically and what the younger one is ready for academically. So I can be reading chapter book read-alouds, and I'm reading them to both children. However, one is glued to my side and is asking questions about Isaac Newton and Benjamin Franklin and the Revolutionary War and engaging with it, and the other one is turning somersaults across the floor and making dinosaur noises. So yes, they're both there, but I am very aware that while this is a good level for my oldest son, he's engaging with the information, he's able to comprehend it. For my younger child, I am very much keeping in mind that I'm not counting this as I have done this schoolwork with him. He is present, he probably is learning from it, he's enjoying himself, he's there for the snacks and the painting and the art activities. He loves to join in. But he's a 4-year-old. He is doing what 4-year-olds do. And he's not at the same level of engagement that his older brother is, and I'm not expecting that. So while I have children close in age, especially at these early ages, there's such a developmental gap that between first grade and preschool, what you need to do is quite a bit different. I think that later, as we get maybe into later elementary years, I probably will be able to combine them in some academic subjects. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not tied into one course or the other. I'm very much tied into doing what works and providing each of my children with an excellent education, whichever way that works, whether that looks like combining them or allowing them to proceed in their own paths. So that's just my example of how I have made that decision at this point. So right now, because of the ages I have, first grade and pre-K, yes, most of our schoolwork is much more tailored toward my first grade student. He's a first grader. He's an elementary student. He has more of a load right now. For pre-K, they're doing much less of a load because that's part of pre-K, but I'm also staying very aware of, as I'm reading first grade books to my oldest, I'm also including some of those more younger, age-appropriate pre-K books for my younger son. And yes, my oldest still likes to listen in, but he's ready for so much more that I wouldn't be holding him back and just doing pre-K because that's all his little brother can really manage. So I am allowing them each to progress at their own pace. All right, I hope that gets your gears turning on what will be a good decision for your homeschool. Let me know in the comments some of the factors that you consider as you think family style learning versus individualized subjects. All right, I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.